start our day. I'm Dobi. I am the Creative Mornings Johannesburg chapter host. Today is going to be a little different, but I do want to give you guys a quick introduction to who we are as Creative Mornings, what we do, and what today will be all about. So before we kick off, just some housekeeping. Please, if you want to, please move closer, because we are a bit of a small crowd today. So come closer, couches, it's kind of a bit. So just for some housekeeping, if you need the loo or anything, it is behind the lifts, so where all the white lights are. That's where the toilets are for today. You can't smoke on this floor, so if you need to have a quick smoke, please go all the way to the ground floor. And do follow us on our social media channels. I'm sure a lot of you have already. But if you haven't, check us out on social media. We are Johannesburg_Creative Mornings, and we do form part of the global Creative Mornings franchise and community. Just to give you a view of what our global community looks like, we've got about 248 chapters across the globe. A chapter is literally who we are, a city and a community in a city, really celebrating creatives and everyone who's curious and wanting to know more and be inspired monthly. We've got about 20,000 people that join us every morning. Thanks, sir. 20,000 people that join us every morning at such events on a monthly basis. We do host once a month. And yeah, this is really our representation in numbers. We do have a couple of talks that we host online. We record all of our events. We've got field trips, which are online community engagements, where people like yourselves can host a field trip, can teach and learn, peer-to-peer teaching and learning. So, you know, our online views and presentations and talks are really mostly that. And just to introduce you to our volunteer team for our chapter here in Johannesburg, we've got people behind the scenes, people that are here today, people that help us really make Creative Mornings Johannesburg what it is on a month-to-month basis. So just a big high five to the team. Whoever's here, please wave. Creative Mornings team. And Chelsea's still outside, I think. But a hi and thank you for all that you do for our chapter. And just to say a quick thank you and high five to our partners. They always really pour into our chapter and give us resources, time, space to make sure that Creative Mornings is a thriving and happy community in what we do on a monthly basis. We've got 1410, Spiwe, Casey, the photographers, all of them really form part of the 1410 team and help us with our production for the event. So they will be doing the videography and photography for the event and post production for our chapter. And then WeWork have obviously opened up their space for us today. We've been hosted by WeWork for years now, in fact, as a chapter. So we've got a long-standing and good relationship with the WeWork team here. If you want to know anything about the space, please do reach out to the guys. They are on the floor. And then Hyphenate Studio has been helping with a lot of our creative and social media. And then we've also got Cherry Picked Online, who've graciously, you know, given of their time, efforts to really make sure that we are up and running and are visible as Creative Mornings. And then 1410, So Fruit, graciously gives us beverages, cold pressed beverages for the morning. So over and above the coffee, just a nice energy shot for anyone who is keen. And then our global partner is Adobe. Adobe really makes sure that we are, you know, connected with the right resources and tools to make our community that much more creative. They run a lot of learning and creative upskilling sessions where they include us as a community for us to tap into those opportunities and be a lot more creatively inclined. So a big thank you to Adobe for being our global partner. And speaking of some of the opportunities that they provide, they do a Level Up Creativity series that kicked off in April. And thank you. This is really an opportunity for everyone and anyone who's interested to tap into the talks and sessions that they host. Really, again, just a peer-to-peer learning opportunity, get the right tools to actually level up your career, hence the name. So do check it out. It is on the Creative Mornings website, and we also share it on our newsletter and social media. So check it out. They've been really, really nice sessions that they've hosted already. And then our theme for today is punk. This one was quite interesting for me. So every month we have a different theme, and we explore it with different speakers, and hence why also our audience tends to look a lot different every month. Punk this month was really all about tapping into the musical side of it. The description was even like the lyrics, which was quite fun, but it really is a call to wake up, to get out there and do the things that need to get done. And with that, I'd actually like to do something a bit different this time around, where we open up the mic, open up the floor, before we get our speakers on, just to really check in. What was your thinking when you heard that our theme was punk? If you want to tell us perhaps about what you're doing in your life that kind of relates to the theme or not, happy for you too. So I'm just opening up the floor a bit to hear from our audience before we actually kick off the morning, just to hear how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what are you expecting, and so on and so forth. Any takers?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Ken. I was really interested to see what it was about, because in the 80s, punk had like a huge influence in the world, fashion, music, individualism, being different, and then it kind of like just vanished, the world carried on as it does. So I was just really keen to see where I can get 40 years later, 40 years later.
I was thinking punk in terms of the freelance lifestyle, the freelance career. I think it's something that we kind of cobble together from different jobs, coming from here and there. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's messy, sometimes people pay, sometimes they don't pay. They pay on time, sometimes they don't pay on time. So I think it's pretty punk because you have to work with what you have. Sometimes the jobs are really high paying, sometimes they're low paying. So punk is this defiance, I think, the defiance of norms, conventions.
What's your name, sorry?
Musonda.
No, I just agree with him. We just had a conversation now, and I didn't think it was badass until he said it. Because sometimes being a freelancer is very, touch and go. But yeah, I think adding the punk mix to it makes it seem like we're very edgy, living on the edge. Creators.
Thank you, Anthony. Talking about how terrifying it is to be a freelancer and how unstable it is, I will say that obviously a lot of us with punk as a theme tend to jump to sort of the musical and fashion side of things, but culturally punk is about resistance and collaboration and DIY. Thank you, Rianka. It's screaming. It's about being in community with people and trusting each other to do the right thing. And I think as a freelancer, especially when you're just starting out, there's a bit of a vibe of every other freelancer is competing with me and we're scared to help each other because we feel like there's one big pie and we all get a little piece. And probably, I think the best experiences I've had in my entire professional life have been around being vulnerable with other freelancers and other creative people, and maybe helping someone who could eventually compete with me but could also lead to an incredible collaborative project, or doing random stuff for free like this, which is probably one of the most like affirming and joyful mornings of my month, every month. So thank you all for being here in community with us.
Thanks, Jess. Anyone who wants to add?
I
Bring
mean,
the front
if
give
you're
coffee.
I don't think I need that. Okay. Yes. So what I would add to what Jess just said
Do
is...
not use this as our quiet door.
Damn it, Jess! I will pivot. So I think for me, punk is what was born from the free love movement of the 60s and the 70s, because it became a more gritty and a more in-your-face version to the structures of power that were telling young people what they had to be and how they had to live their life. Yes, thank you for the background music. It's not quite punk, but we'll get there. And I think what society has done with that is it's made it this like almost easy to brush off, oh yeah, it's just a music thing, and it's just like the Misfits, where it's a really powerful movement, and it gave a lot of people a place to fit in, and a place and a space to call community. And the radical thing about punk is the acceptance. It's far less about anything else, and more about the fact that we are... No, that, I was going to sing to them, but I'll sing to them. And I think it's incredibly lovely that we are bringing it into a space like this, because punk in itself is, I refuse to fit the status quo. And I think the Meko Twins, damn it, that would have been good time. No. I think the Meko Twins just fit that really lovely.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll just have a slideshow up. They don't have a quiz or slides. It really would be very conversational this morning. So when they do come in, I need us to make it awkward and clap for them. But for the time being, can we say hi to each other, meet each other as community while we wait for them, enjoy some donuts and coffee, and we should be back in a moment. Thank you for your patience and your candor.
We are currently on a journey of life. The township for me is what has made me who I am today, from the hardships that I've experienced to the good times that I've experienced. Where we are in the world, Meko Katlehong, the east side of Johannesburg, the township of millionaires. The reason why we chose CreativeMornings is that we wanted to showcase the style that we have as people from the township.
Coming from the township, we needed to find a fabric that speaks of resilience, that speaks of Black excellence. We need to find a fabric that explains almost like the triumph of every Black individual.
When I'm in Madonsela, I feel bold, resilient, confident, and living in my truth and my reality.
Madonsela, I feel free, beautiful, and allowing the world to feel my vibrations.
Good morning, everyone. So sorry that we are slightly fashionable late. So our deepest apologies. But thank you guys so much for being here. I think moments like this are very important for us as the creative community to always come together and share expertise, share some knowledge, and just share some enlightenment. So grateful to be here. I think first and foremost, let's just give ourselves all a round of applause, please. Okay, basic intro. Like Ndombi mentioned, it's quite difficult to set us apart. I'm Warren. I'm more of the talkative side of the twins. And this is my brother, Prince. I feel like this video is just over me a bit, but like let's just go through it. Thank you. Introduction of the Meko Twins, Prince and Warren. We are contemporary artists and fashion designers, rooting all the way from Katlehong, a very beautiful township in the East Rand. Most of our influence and most of our work has kind of like related with like, you know, contemporary mixing Black intelligent art into photography and fashion. And then that's how we, you know, narrate our narratives through artistry. Our journey began in 2028. It's always just a weird story talking about it. We started as stylists, and when we were stylists, and then there was a time where me and Prince were like, dude, okay, cool. Now we've been styling for such a long time. How can we make our style quite unique, right? And then we took a trip. We went to Soweto, and it was like I think towards December time. And that time, my granddad gave us the card. He's like, guys, go do some groceries and come back. And I think at that point, Prince took the most critical decision. I think that shaped our lives forever. He was like to me, Warren, we have granddad's card. He's a pensioner. So, you know, at the end of the year, they earn, you know, all of like the money that they've accumulated throughout the year. And Prince was like, this might be a selfish decision, but it might be the best decision for us. He was like, Warren, let's take granddad's whole money and go buy a sewing machine. And I was like, Prince, what are you talking about?
I was like, Prince, no, we can't do something like, Warren, trust me, like, we need to elevate the style, because sometimes, you know, we did styling and we couldn't get the clothing that we wanted. Sometimes the equations in our head, and sometimes you can't buy it. I'm like, Warren, we're doing styling, but it's not enough. How can we push this thing to the next level? Let's actually buy our own sewing machine and create our own line and create our own vision and create our own designs instead of buying clothing. Then from there he was like, hey bro, if you think it's right, then let's take the risk.
And the weird part about this whole situation is that he doesn't really talk much. So he's telling me about the decision. I still need to go back to Granddad and actually explain it. So I was like, Prince, you know that you're putting me under the bus here. He's like, Warren, let's do this for us, right? So we went in with that credit card, swiped that sewing machine. So now, obviously, it's reflecting. Granddad is now calling. Where are you guys? And now we're now picking up the calls. And now we are sitting in Soweto with this sewing machine, a beautiful sewing machine. It's like wrapped, it's in like this beautiful box, but now we are convincing each other, how do we go back home and tell them that we spent all Granddad's pension money on a sewing machine? And it's December, they need groceries. So we took a very, very, a very, very hard decision. Didn't go back, so now obviously everyone, now it's like, you know Black families, when you start doing mistakes, the whole family comes together. Now everyone is waiting for Prince and Warren to come home to adjudicate what happened to that pension money, you know? And then we come back home confidently and we tell ourselves to Prince, we're gonna go back home now. And when we go back home, the family is there. My granddad is just chilling on his chair. He can't walk. He's the most silent person in the room. Everyone is making a noise. Everyone is causing a scene. And I remember RIP to my granddad. We laid him to rest last year. I think moments like this, I think I would have loved to share these kind of moments for him to understand how far that pension fund took us. So I think when we're speaking right now, like I think his spirit is lingering in this room right now because I can feel his presence as well. So when we were chilling, family, telling us how much, how useless we are, how we are spending, a pensioner's money. And he sat there and he kept everyone quiet in the room and he was like, guys, let's think about it. They didn't go to jail. They didn't buy any alcohol. They didn't go out. They came back as they left, but they just came back with something that's going to contribute towards their future. So I don't understand why all of you guys mad, because this is my money anyway. So from that point, I think then that's when my mom also started kind of like, tapping into believing in this, because now her dad kind of like gave us like that forefront to, start pushing our dream. And then from there, we started building. From 1 machine, 2 machine, 3 machine, 4 machine, photographers, seamstresses, accountants, all these people now that are contributing towards a dream that just an old man in a chair was just chilling and he'd be like, let them go for it. And our journey began there. And going forward, so we've prided ourselves, because of like our humble beginnings, we've prided ourselves talking about African fashion, and most of our work is influenced around township aesthetic, because I think without that environment, we wouldn't understand our rooted analogy of what kind of people that we are and what kind of characters we can uphold. And also growing up in the township, you guys must understand that being people like this is quite not easy, because we are not the normal kind of child that you'd see on the street. So you'd obviously get a lot of backlash, you always get a lot of judgment along the streets, but we kept it together and we told ourselves that there is a reason why the universe had created us the way we are. Maybe we were saving other kids that looked like us that couldn't have the reason to express themselves. So us being this became a vessel for every Black child in the community that is in a shell, that is in a way of trying to express themselves, but they don't know how to. And if it meant that we were the ones that were supposed to start that narrative so we can lead as those pioneer examples towards those communities, is exactly what we tried to do. And it has been a difficult journey. It has its hierarchies, it has its beautiful moments, it has its downfalls as well. But I think every Black creative, how you begin to understand where you're going is to understand exactly where you come from and embracing those characteristics and those qualities. And we try by all means to reflect our work through township communities. Most of people that work for us are people, are seamstresses, are people that come from the township. So everyone that is within the MADONSELA firm are people that are in the township. Young artists, young designers, people that have qualifications but are not finding job opportunities. We bring them back in, and then we are creating art so that us as MADONSELA, as a community, can be a good reflection towards our Black people in township communities. And why leather? They always ask, why leather? Why leather? There's always a lot of conversations around why we choose the fabric that we go for. And we were like, when we have to embody something that is resilient, something that embodies strength, something that embodies character, as designers, which material can be so close towards the strength and the triumph of a Black community? It's leather. The boldness of it, the strongness of it, the resilience of it is why the MADONSELA and the Meko Twins go for the leather aesthetic. And it is quite sometimes a difficult way to navigate it in the fashion industry, but we've told ourselves that we move by our narrative and we uphold our narrative. And we want to move knowing that we won't be shifted outside of what we stand for. And no matter how long it takes, even if we go grey, Prince, and it's still in working progress, then let us be grey and still push the same narrative. At the end of the day, we're not just inspiring ourselves. We're inspiring other people that come behind us, people that look at us, at our work and our narratives, and they can see themselves in us. So, nutshell, kind of like, our journey and how it started and where we are right now. Prince, I don't know if you would like to elaborate.
Okay, I think he said a lot. I won't speak much. I just want to say thank you guys for inviting us here. It means a lot. Sometimes when people look at our work from afar, it looks amazing, but you don't know what's happening internally also, So us being invited to these type of spaces actually means that people actually appreciate our work. They kind of acknowledge what we do, and there's a community outside our community that believes you guys are doing something good. So I just want to say thank you guys for inviting us here. It means a lot to us, and we'll keep pushing the narrative, keep pushing the stories, and thank you, man. I'm happy that we're here, and I'm happy that you guys also got to also kind of see our work and see what we do. And there's still more coming. There's more connections. There's more stories. Thank you guys for everything.
Also, touching base on what Prince just said about a collective journey about work. So, I think something that we've never really openly shared. Last year, we went through a very life kind of changing experience. Last year, my brother got involved in a very severe car accident, which almost resulted in him kind of like losing his life. I think at that point, we started reflecting. And the collection that we did last year, a lot of people always ask us, why is it so dark? Why is it, I think at that time we were battling between me and him in two different places, him trying to heal because he was in this severe accident, but he's so determined about his work that he used to call me every time. He's like, Warren, I'm thinking about this design. Warren, what do you think about this narrative? I'm like, Prince, dog, come on, just go and heal, dog. I'll handle it from here. But then we decided to make that collection about escaping a dark place. That's why that collection reflects around a lot of darkness. But then it kind of like, it was him rescuing himself. And I felt like it was necessary to do a collection that was not about sales. It was not about, oh, this collection just dropped, guys, hi, this jacket costs so and so. It was about his expressions about how he felt at that time and how I can inhabit what he was feeling and let that translate into photography and fashion and clothing. And our last year's collection was titled Matsatsi Hatswani, which means days are not the same. Understanding how a couple of weeks we were so happy, and a couple of weeks later he was at hospital in a car accident, which kind of explained how days can change and how we need to inhabit and how we need to appreciate each and every day that we go through. So our collections, our work is always an embodiment of how we feel, what we are going through during that time, and what we are looking to further achieve. I think that collection last year speaks about that. And I'm thinking, I spoke to Ndombi, I think she played the video for you guys. Our open insert was a video that was shot by directors in New Mexico and in Los Angeles that launched on Tuesday. So they came into the country and they were looking for artists that resemble Africanacity. And we were the first people that were approached to talk about our journey, where we come from, shooting inside our studio. And it's been a really good accomplishment because it's been opening an international platform for us. Later on in the year, we're going to be doing an exhibition in Mexico, which is something that is quite great. Justin Tonekokasi, a young kid from the hood that just had ambitions, that just had dreams to kind of like take themselves outside of themselves and reach out to a place and walk in doors that I could never thought that we could step in. Today we are here speaking to such an amazing crowd. Who would ever thought? Just granddad's pension money and two boys that just had a dream. Right now we are sitting in front of such a beautiful audience, and all we could ever thank is God. And our narrative continues. And I hope we can find ourselves on platforms where, as artists, we speak about our journeys, because I think a lot of artists are suffering internally and they don't have such platforms to actually talk about their journey and what they go through being an artist. So these kind of platforms are very important for us to also self-reflect and see how our journey has been so far. So I think us being here today is such an honor. I think words can never come to describe that one day we'll be sitting here speaking about what that sewing machine has done to our lives and where we are today. So thank you guys so much for being here.
Are there any questions, comments, thoughts to share? Questions? Can I grab the microphone?
Oh, yes.
You guys, maybe you guys can keep one.
Twins are always interesting. Like, I have 7 sets of twins in my family. And yes, 7. And what role does your communication between you two play in your creative process, and how you share ideas or build on ideas with each other? I feel like the twin dynamic creates an incubator for kind of otherworldly forces to come in and also work with you, because there's 2, but there's 1, but there's 1.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the question. So I feel like what I appreciate about us being together is we're the same person but don't think the same way. So that's mostly our power, because I just think of something, then Warren just brings it to life. So I'll just show something like, Warren, I'm thinking about something like this, and I tell him, and he's on the laptop and putting the puzzles together, you know what I'm saying? So we have a left and a right brain that's connected together. And I'm like, hey Warren, I'm thinking this. And he's like, oh, this, shit. But how can we elevate this from what you're thinking onto the next level? So I just come with the idea, then he builds from the idea, then from there we become one strong team together.
Good. And also, guys, just understand, being twins also does not mean that we are always synchronized, okay? It doesn't mean that we're, always on the same, me and him sometimes, cat fight, claws in, out, you know what I mean? We argue a lot. And what I love about our arguments is that it's never really outside of personal things. We argue about work, and sometimes it's so personal towards him and it's personal towards me. And I like the fact that every time that we do things, it's always personal. So he feels like, Warren, I think we can do it like this. And I feel like, Prince, we can do it like this. But because now these 2 different ideas are so brilliant, I think that's why our work becomes so intelligent, is because now his intelligence and mine comes together when we create one masterpiece. But in between that process, to get to that idea, guys, it's a hierarchy. It's like Table Mountain vibe. You know what I mean? It's not the easiest decisions to always go to, but I think also the energy of twins is that the universe always brings us back to the common analogy, which is that common goal. And it's so beautiful to experience how the same person can have such a complete idea of how the world is. And then I have such a complete idea of how I want the world to be. But then his narrative and mine put together becomes our narrative, which is the beautiful part of it.
It's really cool to meet you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, your story reminds me of the saying, don't ask permission, just ask forgiveness.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the sewing machine. It's really cool. And I want to link that to these people in our lives who give us permission to do things that we never thought we were going to be able to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, besides your grandfather, who are those people for you guys?
I think one part of the story that I never really share, right? Our parents, did the best. When I say the best, guys, I mean absolutely the best, Took us to the best schools, just to make sure that their idea of where they wanted to see their kids was valid, right? So I think the first permission that you need to ask is from yourself. Because I think anybody outside or inside that is a spectator to your life has their own expectations on how your life needs to go. So you asking for permission for how your life needs to go, maybe your life might not even get there. So the first permission is for you to ask it for yourself and give it to yourself, and then manage the risk of the permission that you just gave yourself. Because now you are the only one that's in control. Because now if you ask permission from your next door neighbor, your success is validated towards their expectations. So it's not really your journey anymore. So I think the first permission that you need to ask is for yourself. And knowing that when you ask that permission for yourself, then you are then only responsible for your life only. So how you navigate your life going there, you can't go back to the same person that you didn't ask permission for and okay, now I've reached stumbling block. Where do I go from now? Because that person will be like, but you didn't ask permission from me. So asking permission from yourself gives you the validation to know, Guti, now you are in control of your narrative, but now you need to calculate the risk of knowing how hard it's going to be to exceed the permission that you gave for yourself. But at least it's you. It's your rules, your journey, your lane. No expectations besides yourself. And I think what we forget to do in this life is to put ourselves first. And everyone around us, I think our parents and our people, our grandparents play such a fundamental role in making sure that we are successful. And we put everybody else before ourselves. And then we find ourselves in a journey, being 40 years old, being 30 years old, and still feeling so lost. It's because you are living somebody else's dream. So I think when you start putting yourself first, no matter how long it takes, no matter how the turmoils might become, but you know that you're running your own race, and only you can get to that finish line. Nobody else is going to run it for you. I hope that answers your question.
It was nice. It was a nice day.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for telling your story. I think there are a lot of stories that come from townships, but one that isn't told enough is the story of the culture of fashion, culture of dressing up. There's a rich history behind needing to express ourselves when we don't have enough access.
Yes.
So we would create our own clothes, we create our own fashion, and create our own identity. But we're living at a time now when African designers or creators have a larger space in the global stage, I guess. And I want to ask, how do you stay true to your brand, or how do you anchor your brand to your roots with so many pressures in the world?
So what I picked up first is identity to your brand, compared to other things. So when we started this brand, also we didn't want to. So like for example, like when they say like an African design, African brand needs to look African prints, African. So our brand was like, no, I'm African, but I don't have to look African. You know what I'm saying? So like, my brand looks very international, it looks better than Gucci, but it's from Africa, without no African print. So identity is within you. It's not about what they tell you to do, it's not about if it's African, it needs to have this type of signature. The signature is in your brain. You are the signature, so identity is the main key to everything. So,
yeah, I'd like. I think me and Prince always have this conversation, actually. When we speak about identifying ourselves as African brands, right? Let's make examples. Every time, for instance, African designers get called on a global platform, which we definitely do appreciate, don't get me twisted. Why does it have to always be welcome to this kind of place, and African people need to come there as African designers? When last did we call as African designers to design Game of Thrones? Like, why can't we do costume for Game of Thrones? Why do we always have to, every time we are in international platforms, we need to signify oh, it's an African scene. We belong here. It's Wakanda, so it is African, so we are here. Why are we not on Lord of the Rings? Why can't our fashion be so predominantly dominant that they can reference us on a Game of Thrones thing? It has nothing to do with Africanity, but there's African designers that the costume design for that. So I think identifying this margin is to also eliminate that we are not African designers. A designer from Paris is not a Paris designer. A designer from London is not a London designer. Alexander McQueen is not a London designer. He's a fashion designer. Why do we have to be associated by African designers? Because we are designers. We don't have to be marginalized, we will only coexist where Africanity is needed. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes a point. Like, we are designers, not African designers. Couture designers from Paris are not Paris designers or France designers. They're designers. So I think if we can start shaping our culture with the kind of atelier that we do, so we don't put ourselves in a marginalized line that we only coexist if we are in an American movie and there's an African scene in the jungle, then okay, let's put African designers there. Even if it has nothing to do with being African, but hey guys, we'd like to be seen on the global platform as fashion designers. So understanding that rooted analogies, understanding what kind of narrative do you want the world to see you as? Like I was, working in the styling department as well. I was like, the weird part about, artists is that we feel like everything is like a pedestal that we need to go through. But as soon as an industry knows you as an assistant stylist, you'll forever be an assistant stylist. You will never upgrade to be a senior stylist, because whenever they call you, it's like, hey, Ntombi, we need an assistant. Hey, Prince, we need an assistant. So your character is always going to be built around what you tell the industry you want to be seen as. So how you embody that and how you build that, yeah, let it take 20 years. But when somebody picks up the phone and they call you and they say, hey, Ndombi, I need you to be here, they called you according to the expertise and how you branded yourself to be called, nothing else. So identity is a very important thing to understand that going forward, how do the next person that has never met you associate their business with you? So your tagline, your identity is yours, but you are responsible for it. And if you misguide the narrative, you can't then complain that, why am I seen like this if you did not be bold enough and root yourself and identify yourself as this? And then they'll always call you for that. Not yet, not this year, not the next year, but on all these years they're not calling you. You were just building yourself. By the time they call your name, they'll call you based on exactly the brand that you have built it. And that's exactly what they'll call you for, nothing less than that. So identifying yourself and understanding your roots is very important because that's how everybody else in the world that does not know your name, that does not know who you are, see you as. So you need to embody that from the beginning right until the end.
Morning, thank you so much for coming all this way to drive to Johannesburg to come and speak to all of us. I have 2 questions for you guys, if that's okay. My first question was, what was the first kind of project that you worked on where you felt like, buying that sewing machine and spending all of your grandfather's pension money made it worth it, and you kind of felt like you had like a I made it moment?
Okay. So firstly, there's never an I made it moment. There's never. The weird thing is, sometimes it's like, before we start, it's like, I'm always on Instagram, it's like, one day I wish I could be here. So when I get here, I'm like, I need to be here. So there's never like, I made a moment. It's always like, what can I do next? What can I do next? How can I improve this? Because as soon as you have this I made a moment, that's when you lose everything. So it's like, when you hear what you know that you hear, until you get here, you're like, oh my God, there's so many people here. Then you're like, okay, what's the next move? What's the next move? How do you make this brand better? What's the new idea? What's the new elevation? And the other question you asked is, what's the other question also? We're like,
the other question was, sorry, I wrote it down.
we're not at the moment that you saw. Sorry.
So, okay, the first question was, what was the first project that you worked on where you felt like you, like...
So, weirdly enough, we started with, we were models, obviously, in front of the camera. Then we started doing styling. Then I feel like from styling, that's when we kind of picked up a lot of identity also. Because they started from modeling, because they were like, oh my God, you guys look good on camera. But we felt like it's not enough for us. We can do better than just being in front of the camera. Then we started doing styling. They were like, okay. Then we tapped into music videos. That's when we kind of like understood that there's a lot of elements missing. Because obviously when you start music videos, they send you like a mood board, they want this type of look. And sometimes they want this, but they don't actually know, you can't get this. Maybe this jacket was done somewhere in Milan. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, now to walk all over the town looking for the same reference. I'm like, alright, we can't keep doing this anymore. What's the next level? Sewing machine. Now we can create the reference that they want. Now we're designing, we create that, yeah. So that's why there's never like a linear movement. It's just steps, modeling, styling, designing, this. Maybe one day we might be designing the other couches. So you always elevate from the next step. And the first step takes you to the next step. The second step takes you to the third step. And you become better from that with time and just doing what you like doing. Yeah, that's a problem.
And my second question was, how do you think the theme of today, punk, kind of resonates with your brand the most, and how do you feel like it kind of influences the way that you go about creating and designing your clothing?
I feel like the word punk means different things in different places. So we're actually at a meeting yesterday. So we get to this meeting, I can't mention what it's about obviously, but we get there, the meeting ends, we're like, guys, do you guys listen to hard rock? I'm like, hard rock? No, don't listen to hard rock. We just have that image. So punk means a different thing to us compared to what punk actually means to them. So punk for us is like fashion, rebellious, but in our own township aesthetic. Being like, I'm doing this and I'm gonna do this until I win. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna fight. Like, black is power, we're fighting. You know what I'm saying? So it's different punk to different places. So punk for us is like township power. It's like, black is power, like power into Katlehong. That's our punk. Their punk is their punk, our punk is Kasi punk. So, punk, you're gonna explain it further? Yeah, I think you're gonna explain it further.
No, not better, but like a little bit.
I think, when you go and, go back to the resilience of punk, I think we're working, I don't know when it was it 2 years ago when we worked on a global campaign for Afropunk, and they had asked us the same questions. What is punk? Because, if you, Afropunk is like, it's like a rebellion. It's like political protest towards black intelligence and black communities. So we need to then self-reflect that punk and what punk actually stands for. Because punk really is not really about clothing. It's about a message, a prophecy that needs to be sent to people that don't understand the resilience of blackness. So as black individuals, how do we then self-reflect punk back to us? Coming from the township, what kind of messages are we trying to send to the people that are in the township that cannot be heard? Obviously, we're not going to go and riot. So let us be poetic justice through photography and fashion. Best way to do it. Beautifully said, simply done.
I think that's a good point to end our conversation this morning. Thank you so much, guys, for... Is there another question? Sorry, let's take it. Let's do it.
My question is, can you please take me through your creative process? Because sometimes we as creators, we encounter creative block, So I just wanted to ask in terms of where your creative inspiration comes from, and what do you usually do when, let's say, that creative idea you came up with, you bounce it to your friend, and then they say, dog, this won't work and stuff like that, and we actually do it and it doesn't work. How do you,
So our creative process is very simple, because what I've noticed, with designers, they limit the creative process. So sometimes when a client, for example, when they ask, okay guys, send me a sketch of what you're gonna do for me. We never send the sketch, we never send the picture, because already that is blocking the creative process. So I just tell you, okay, you want you just give me a reference, then we create it. Because sometimes, when you're in the studio, it's a mood, it's an energy. That reference can jump from this to this, and it can be better from what you actually want me to do, and I can elevate it. But as soon as you send me a sketch, draw this thing, and I want it to be like this, it's gonna be trapped in that picture. So with all our clientele, they always trust us to a point which I'm like, I know you want this, but give me the creative process to actually create what I want, what you want with our mind. You know? So it's like there's no sketch. We don't sketch. We never sketch. We never draw. Like I've never seen any client of mine. This is how the dress will look like this. I'm like, okay, you want something like this? Give us the creative process. Let's create it. Because when you're in the studio, that's a different energy on its own also. One can just be outside and can maybe his girlfriend is calling him, like, then they find out about something. Then he's like, dude, my girl's mad at me about this, then this happens. Or actually, you know, like it's energy, it's a moment thing. When you're creating, it's a moment thing. You don't plan to create. Let the creation happen for itself. So when you give it time to be free and you don't box it, it becomes better than the actual sketch. So when you sketch it, it has to be like this. Unless if it's for like a specific thing, okay, I want this look exactly like this because it has to be like this for this certain thing. But creating is more just let the process be free. Let it be free. Don't try too hard. Don't plan too hard. Just chill. Wake up sad. Wake up happy. Go on the machine. That's why, normally where we stay is the machines. We have like small factories, but like it's also important when you stay, you have your own personal machine routine. When you're feeling sad that day, you just go on the machine and just create like a sleep. Then forget about it. When you're fighting with your mom, for example, create another sleep. Forget about it. The next day, you're happy, you have friends, you guys are just chilling. Guys, actually, let's create this. Then when all those pieces come together, it's the creative process. It's free, it's natural, it's not planned, it's just happening. You're not fighting with that design. So with our art, it's more, it's free, man. I couldn't explain it further than that. It's just free. It's just free. You just let it happen.
And I think also going back to what Prince is saying, I think also your creative process is highly influenced by the environment. So you also need to create an environment that feels safe, secure, peaceful, because that's what determines how you go into that place and how you navigate yourself. You know what I mean? So having a creative space that allows you to breathe, you know? If you want to play some instrumentals today, if you want to have maybe some days your glass of wine and just kind of like unwind, like let your space, like walk into your space and feel like you are in heaven. If you get that place, and then also, and then choose what kind of people are associated around that place. Because energy is a very big thing. So you need to protect yours. So whoever comes into your space needs to come through as a value-added chain towards your space. Not somebody that's gonna come there and feel like when someone is in your space, you feel like something is heavy on your shoulders. So the kind of people that you associate yourself with and the kind of people that you work with also are very important because they navigate your energy. And when your energy is pure and your energy is at peace, you are at peace. And if you are at peace, magic happens. Anyone?
Wonderful. I think we're going to wrap it off there. I know we've gone over time, we started with late. But I just want to say, firstly, thank you to the audience for giving us this time, giving us your time today. Prince, Warren, honoring our invite and really coming here to share yourselves with us is really, really special. Thank you so much. If there are any other questions, anyone that wants to connect with Warren and Prince, please feel free to check in on them, chat to them after the session. But I think we'll wrap it off here for today. Second Friday of July will be our next event. Please stay tuned for who we will have. Otherwise, that is the day. These are just some gifts to say thank you to the two of you for making the efforts to be here today. Have a wonderful Friday, everyone.